Welcome back. In this lesson, we'll explore solution number 3 of the plan to minimize sibling rivalry. At this point, you've trained your kids in advance, and then you ignored the fight. But guess what? It's escalating out of control. So now what? Now it's time to move to solution number 3, which is helpful adult intervention. We know it's time for helpful adult intervention when one child is clearly attempting to hurt the other child, or the verbal assaults are beyond your family norms of how you would speak to one another, or the kids are beyond their skill level to resolve things on their own. Basically, things are escalating out of control. Now, we don't want anyone to get hurt physically or emotionally. And while kids should be able to let a "you're a poopy head" comment just roll off their backs, anything that's truly sensitive or hurtful isn't fair fighting, and we would want to step in. If your kids tend to go from 0 to 100 in a second with either verbal or physical attacks, that's something you'll really want to work on later with training. Also, regular sibling mind, body, and soul time will help them develop a sense of empathy for each other. And as we've talked about in session 4, working on self-soothing and calming down strategies will teach kids how to keep aggression under control even when their big emotions are flaring. Now, back to helpful adult intervention in the moment. The important thing to keep in mind is that we're not intervening to settle their arguments or make judgments about who's right or wrong. This is helpful adult intervention, and we're getting involved only to open block channels of communication. We will act as a facilitator in the process, and we'll do it in a way that I call sportscasting. When we're sportscasting, we're the objective party. We're not taking sides, just like a sportscaster addresses both sides after a game without showing any preferences. You'll need to acknowledge the feelings of each of your kids, but without making judgments. You can say things like, "Wow, you really seem upset," or "Boy, you sound angry about this." These statements shouldn't put anyone on the defensive. Then we'll give both sides an opportunity to tell their side of the story, even if the situation seems perfectly clear to you. There's one important ground rule, though. We want each kid to share the facts, but without blame and finger pointing. Using an "I feel" statement can be super helpful to avoid the blame game. If your kids can't share their side of the story without "he said, she did" blame, just table the discussion until everyone can talk about their feelings without so much emotion. It's perfectly okay to wait and talk about it later. There's nothing that says that a disagreement has to be solved immediately. Just help each child find some space to calm down and then revisit the topic a little later. Now, once we've heard from both parties about their version of what happened or their perspective on the situation, you want to say, "Okay, what ideas do you guys have to solve this problem? What ideas do you guys have to solve this problem?" And then be silent and see what they come up with. Remember, our job is to facilitate the discussion, not to solve the problem for them. With any luck, one or the other will figure out a solution that they can both agree to, and then your involvement is done. However, when you say, "What ideas do you guys have to solve this problem?" you might get blank stares or an "I don't know." Well, in that case, you can give them a few suggestions, but avoid solving the problem directly. You can say, "Well, what do you think would happen if we tried this?" Or "How would it work if we tried X?" and see what they think. You can put a few workable solutions out there, but it's your kid's job to reach an agreement. Also, be sure to go along with any reasonable solution they come up with, even if it sounds strange or even unfair to you. The important thing is not how perfect the solution is, but that they worked on it together. Of course, if one child seems to chronically get the short end of the stick, you can do some assertiveness training with that child, but that should happen in private at a different time. Let's talk about tattling for a minute. What if one child comes to you directly to tell you that her brother is throwing Legos all over the room? Well, believe it or not, this is still a case in which we don't want to get involved, despite the fact that he's clearly breaking a rule. This is classic tattling. She wants to get her brother in trouble. That's different from informing, which is letting an adult know about a dangerous situation. That could be anything from the child playing out in the street to issues with bullying or risky online behavior. You'll need to make the distinction between tattling and informing very clear to your kids, and then use training to help them know what to do themselves instead of tattling. Now, when they come to you with a tattle, you can say, "What have you done so far to try to solve this problem?" Or, "What have you done to help your brother?" This puts it back on the child and makes it clear that your focus is on problem solving, not on who gets in trouble. Now, if she has taken some action to try to solve the problem or help her brother, but it hasn't worked, then go ahead and step in. But we're shifting the paradigm in your family to one of empowerment, which is don't run to mom or dad with a problem unless you've taken some action or steps to help find a solution. Now, obviously, if there's imminent danger, that's different. We would want the child to come to you right away. But this, "what have you done to solve the problem?" or "what have you done to help your brother?" approach is especially helpful for an older child who tries to play parent to their younger siblings. So when you make it clear that you only act on informing and not on tattling, and that you expect them to focus on solutions, the amount of tattling will decrease. It'll be liberating for you. You can read more about this in the Tattling versus Informing article that goes along with this lesson. Now, let's get back to helpful adult intervention. Everyone has shared their side of the story, and you've given your kids a chance to come up with solutions and reach an agreement on whatever it is. But they're still spinning their wheels. At this point, we know it's time to move to solution number 4, which is called all in the same boat. In the next lesson, I'll teach you the power of all in the same boat, as well as when and when not to use it. I'll see you in the next lesson.